You don't write the Bible stories, but you do write your sermons, don't you? That question, asked by a Pixar storyboard artist, completely changed how I prepare sermons. See, I used to think storytelling and preaching were two different things. Pixar writes stories. We explain the Bible. Different jobs, right? Wrong. What I'm about to share with you is the exact framework Pixar uses to structure every single film they make, from Toy Story to Inside Out, and how you can use it to write sermons that actually land. So stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll have a tool that you can use this week. A few years ago, I did something kind of crazy. I invited a Pixar storyboard artist to come teach our pastoral staff about storytelling. His name was Matthew. He'd worked on Toy Story and Cars. He was a lead storyboard artist for Pixar, the guy who makes sure every film they make has great characters and an engaging plot. And Matthew was a member of our church, so I asked him, would you come teach us, our teaching team, our pastoral team, teach us about story? So picture this, 20 pastors walk into a conference room, but instead of the usual setup, rows of chairs, a whiteboard with an agenda, the room is absolutely transformed. The round tables are covered in candy and Post-it notes. Fun music is playing through the loudspeaker. A projector screen is hung on the wall that says, "Welcome to Radiator Springs." And Matthew's standing there in Converse sneakers and a t-shirt, ready to blow our minds. And that's just what he did. For 2 hours, Matthew walked us through everything. The hero's journey, character development, how Pixar builds tension, how they make you root for their protagonist. It was incredible. But at the end of our time, the tone shifted when we stepped into the question and answer portion of the meeting. One of the pastors raised his hands and they asked the question on everyone's mind. He said, "Matthew, this is fascinating, but how do we apply this to our preaching?" And Matthew looked confused. The pastor clarified, at Pixar, you write stories, but that's not what we do. We explain the Bible to people. We don't have the liberty to create content. We're bound to God's content. Sometimes we're preaching an epistle or a psalm or a proverb. It's not story. So how does any of this help us? I looked around the room and pastors were nodding. It was like Matthew's world and our world were just too different. And then Matthew said something I'll never forget. He said, "Sure, you don't write the Bible stories, but you do write your sermons, don't you?" The room went quiet. See, here's what Matthew understood that we had missed. When Matthew sits in the pew on Sunday morning in our church, he doesn't hear someone merely explaining the Bible. He hears a talk with a beginning, a middle, and an end. He watches the pastor on the stage try to take the audience on a journey. He sees us attempting to relate our world to the biblical characters. From Matthew's perspective, we were already doing what he does at Pixar every day. The only difference, we didn't have the tools to do it well. Now think about it. When you develop a sermon, you're not just transmitting raw data from the text to the congregation's brain, you're making choices. You have to decide what to include, what to leave out, how to structure the sermon, to draw out the truth of the text, where to start, where to end, how to make it connect with your audience. You're not just preserving truth, you're transforming truth, taking it from its original form in the scriptures and translating it into something new, the form of a sermon. And that's what artists do too. And if that's true, maybe the tools that artists use could help us do it too. So here's the framework. It comes from every story theory you read about all over the world. Brian McDonald, Pixar, they all use it for every single film. It's called the story spine. And it's embarrassingly simple. It goes like this. Well, once upon a time, and every day, until one day, and because of this, and because of this, and because of this, until finally, and ever since that day. That's it. 8 lines. Every great story you could possibly imagine follows this skeleton. All right, so let me show you how this works with Pixar's movie Toy Story. All right, once upon a time, there was a toy named Woody. And every day, Woody was the favorite toy in Andy's collection. Until one day, a new toy named Buzz Lightyear showed up. And because of this, Woody tried to hide Buzz, but he accidentally knocked him out the window. And because of this, Buzz and Woody ended up lost in the real world together. And because of this, they got captured by Sid, the toy-destroying neighbor kid. until finally, Woody had to rescue Buzz from Sid's grip. And ever since that day, Buzz and Woody have been friends. All right, you see how that works? It doesn't give you every detail. It doesn't tell you the whole plot, but the story structure gives you the bones, the character, the journey, the transformation they experience. And now let me show you how this works with a passage in the scriptures that's definitely not a story. Let's turn to James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Or you read the text of scripture just as it is. James says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Okay, that's didactic teaching. It's not narrative. So how do we story form that? How do we take that text and prepare it to a structure that could be helpful for a compelling sermon? Here's how, right? Once upon a time, a group of Christians lived scattered among the nations of Asia Minor. We learn that in verse 1. And every day they struggled with the hopelessness that comes from living in a world of trial and persecution. We learn that from the commentaries and the context. Until one day, they received a letter from the Apostle James with the startling command, "Consider it pure joy." And because of this, they learned that the trials they experienced weren't meaningless, that the testing of their faith was producing something, perseverance. And because of this, they let perseverance do its work in them instead of fighting against their circumstances. And because of this, they began to experience transformation, becoming mature and complete, until finally they understood suffering isn't the enemy of their faith. Suffering is the training ground for their faith. And ever since that day, these believers have faced trials differently, not lacking anything. You see the difference? The same text, same truth, but now it's a journey. Now there's a character that your congregation can see themselves in. There's a tension to walk through. There's movement. There's transformation. This isn't abandoning expository preaching. This is unleashing expository preaching. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Danny, this is weird. This sounds like you're adding to scripture. We're supposed to preach the text, not dress it up. And I hear you, and I take that seriously. But here's the thing. You are already making choices about how to present the text every week in your study. Every sermon has a structure. The question isn't whether you'll shape the material. The question is whether you'll do it intentionally using tools that actually work. The story spine doesn't change the meaning of the text. It helps you reveal the meaning of the text. It helps you take your congregation on the same journey of discovery that you went on in your study of the text the week before. Because that's the goal, right? To bring them to the place where you encountered God in the text. All right, so here's what I want you to do. This week, before you start writing your sermon, try this. Take your passage and ask yourself, who's the character? What's their journey? What's the until one day moment? And write out the story spine, just those 8 lines. It won't take long. And then build your sermon on that skeleton. Now, if you want to go deeper than that, if you want the complete StoryForm preaching method with examples, worksheets, step-by-step guidance, I've created a free training for you. You can go to storyform.church. That's StoryForm.church. And you'll there get access to a free and full webinar where I walk you through everything. How to find the story in a text, how to connect it to your congregation, how to build the frame, all of it. Storyform.church. Link is in the description and pinned right there in the comments. But listen, I know sermon prep is hard. I know Sundays never stop coming, but you don't have to white knuckle it every week. There are tools that can help, and you can learn them. Because here's what I've discovered. The preachers who seem like natural communicators, the ones whose sermons just always land, they're not a special breed. They're using principles, whether they know it or not, principles that the rest of us can learn too. You can become the preacher, the communicator, the teacher that God has made you to be. I'll see you in the next video.